Ava walked cautiously through the forest, the only source of light being the pale glow of the moon, filtering through the thick canopy of trees overhead. Each step she took through the underbrush created a soft, crunching sound, the only audible sign of her presence in the otherwise silent forest. As she moved deeper into the woods, Ava's senses became more attuned to the natural rhythms of the forest. She could hear the rustling of leaves as small animals darted through the underbrush and occasionally caught a glimpse of furry creatures darting across her path. The distant hoot of an owl added to the eerie ambience of the forest, its haunting call echoing off the trees. Despite the beauty of the moonlight filtering through the trees, Ava couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled over her. The forest was unfamiliar, and she was acutely aware of her vulnerability in this place of shadows and mystery. As she continued deeper into the forest, Ava's senses heightened even further. She could hear the soft fluttering of bat wings overhead and the occasional snap of twigs as larger animals moved through the forest. Yet for all the activity in the forest, Ava remained alone and the only human presence in this enchanted realm of moonlight and shadow. Eventually, Ava emerged from the forest, the light of the moon fading behind her. She paused for a moment, taking one last look at the dark forest before turning and heading back towards civilization, grateful for the experience, but also relieved to be leaving the eerie silence of the forest behind. As Ava walked out of the forest, she looked up and saw something that took her breath away. In front of her, looming ominously against the night sky, was a dark, hauntingly beautiful castle. Its tall turrets and spires rose into the darkness, casting long shadows over the surrounding landscape. Ava couldn't help but feel drawn to the castle's eerie beauty, and she began to make her way towards it, her curiosity overcoming any lingering fear. As she drew closer, she could see that the castle was ancient, its walls weathered by centuries of rain and wind. The castle was surrounded by a deep moat, its waters still and black in the moonlight. Ava walked around the perimeter of the moat, taking in the beauty of the castle from every angle. She could see the castle was abandoned, its windows dark and empty. Despite the castle's desolate appearance, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that there was something mysterious and alluring about it. She longed to explore its dark halls and secret passageways, to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within its walls. As she stood there, gazing up at the ceiling in awe, she knew she had to find a way inside. She began to search for a way across the moat, determined to unlock the secrets of the ancient castle that stood before her. Ava looked around, searching for a way to cross over to the castle. She noticed a narrow stone bridge that seemed to lead to the castle's main entrance. The bridge was old and weathered, but it looked sturdy enough to support her weight. Cautiously, she stepped onto the bridge, feeling the cool stone beneath her feet. As she made her way across the moat, she couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement and anticipation building inside her. What would she find inside the castle walls? When she reached the other side of the moat, she found herself standing before the castle's massive wooden doors. The doors were tall and imposing and covered in intricate carvings and iron studs. Ava reached out and pushed against one of the doors, but it didn't budge. Just as she was about to give up, she heard a sound behind her. She turned around to see a figure emerging from the shadows. It was a tall, dark, and handsome man. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice deep and commanding. As he got closer, she could see he had piercing, beautiful blue eyes and jet black long hair. His charming and mysterious looks made her stare in awe until she gathered up the courage to explain that she was just curious. Getting a glimpse at Ava, he suddenly became kinder. Ava introduced herself and began to explain her fascination with vampires and that she meant no harm. After a moment, the man introduced himself as Alexander and opened the door and an invitation to come into the mysterious castle. Ava hesitated for a moment, feeling her heart beat nearly out of her chest. And what was she doing? Was it too late to turn back? Did she really want to turn back? No. She felt almost lost in a trance, looking into this man's beautiful eyes, and she knew she must get to know him. As Alexander shut the door behind him, he said, "Welcome to my home." He led her through the castle's grand entrance hall, with its high vaulted ceilings and intricate tapestries adorning the walls. As they walked, Alexander pointed out various features of the castle's design and history, sharing stories of the generations of this family that had once lived there. "This room was once used for grand banquets," he explained, leading Ava into a large dining hall with a long wooden table and ornate chandeliers hanging overhead. And this chamber was where my ancestors conducted their most important business affairs. As they continued to tour the castle, Ava couldn't help but be impressed by the grandeur and history of the place. Alexander seemed particularly proud of certain aspects of the castle's design or history, and his enthusiasm was contagious. "As you can see, this castle is quite old," Alexander said, gesturing to the ancient stone walls around him. "It has been in my family for generations. The first structure on this site was built in the 12th century, but it was expanded and renovated over the years to become what you see today." He led Ava through a series of rooms, each with its own unique history and purpose. In one room, he showed her a suit of armor that had belonged to one of his brave ancestors who had fought in a famous battle. In another room, he pointed out a portrait of a beautiful woman who had been his great-great-grandmother. "This painting has been in my family for over 2 centuries," he explained. "She was known for her beauty, her intelligence. She was a patron of the arts and a philanthropist, and she was greatly admired by all who knew her." As they continued their tour, Alexander showed Ava more family heirlooms and artifacts, each with its own unique story and significance. He shared tales of his family's triumphs and tragedies, and Ava couldn't help but be impressed by the deep history and rich culture of Alexander's family and their ancient castle. By the end of the tour, Ava had gained a newfound appreciation for the castle's history and the family who had called it home for generations. She felt honored to have been given a glimpse into this world that was so different from her own, and she couldn't wait to learn more about Alexander and his family. "Who is this?" An icy male voice startled Ava. She turned to see a man that resembled Alexander, but was a couple of years older than him, he seemed, and not so pleasant like Alexander. However, when Ava turned for him to see her, he immediately softened. "Ava," said Alexander, "I would like you to meet my brother, Lucian." "Lucian," said Alexander, "this is Ava." "I see you invited a mortal inside, brother," said Lucian. Alexander looked down. "Well, what's done is done, isn't it?" Lucian said, and continued to study Ava. "What all did you tell her, Alexander? Does she know?" "No," said Alexander sharply. "Oh." Lucian was looking at his brother, and they locked eyes. "Tell me what?" asked Ava, now nervous again. "Tell me what?" she said louder. "Tell you that we have hidden doorways," Lucian said quickly. "Let's go, and we'll show you the rest of the castle." Ava was scared, but she also felt a sense of safety with Lucian and Alexander. Whatever it was too late. She was already in the castle. Darn her, curiosity killed the cat. As the night wore on, Ava found herself drawn to the brothers, their charisma and charm impossible to resist. She knew she was falling under their spell, but she didn't care, and in that moment she felt alive in ways she never felt before. As the night wore on, Ava found herself drawn to the brothers, their charisma and charm impossible to resist. She knew she was falling under their spell and didn't care, and in that moment she felt alive in a way she had never felt before. When Lucian stood close to Ava, she could feel a powerful energy emanating from him. Lucian, so handsome and mysterious, with an air of power and confidence, almost intimidating. Despite this, there was something about him that drew Ava in. She found herself captivated by his piercing gaze and the way his eyes seemed to hold secrets that he was unwilling to share. As they talked, Ava couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, but as if he was hiding something, but at the same time, she was as inexplicably drawn to him, wanting to know more about this enigmatic vampire. Little did Ava know, her fascination with Lucian would lead her down a dangerous path, one that would test her courage and her loyalty to those she loved. But for now, she was content to bask in the allure of this mysterious, captivating vampire. Ava had been exploring the castle's corridors for hours, getting to know this family. Now it was time to go. As she turned to walk toward the door to leave, she was abruptly stopped in her tracks by Alexander, who stood in her path with a grave expression on his face. "Ava, I'm afraid I've got some news," he said, in a voice barely above a whisper. "What is it?" Ava asked, her heart pounding in her chest. "Ava, you can't leave the castle," Alexander replied. I'm sorry. I should have told you from the beginning." His eyes flickering and looking at Lucian, who now stood beside him. "What are you talking about? Of course I can leave," Ava protested, taking a step forward. No, you can't, Ava," said Lucian, his voice low and menacing. "You crossed the threshold into the vampire realm. You know too much. We can't let you. It's against the rules." Ava's mind raced as she tried to process what was happening. She had heard stories of vampires before and never even realized this was all real, and how now she was trapped in a castle with two of them and no way out. You can't keep me here," Ava demanded, her voice rising in panic. "You just can't keep me here against my will." "We're not keeping you here against your will, Ava," Alexander said in a soothing tone. "But it's too late. You've crossed the threshold. You must stay. Now you have a choice. You can stay here with us until you die of an old age, or you can turn into a vampire like us and live forever." Ava's mind whirled as she tried to wrap her head around the impossible choice she was being asked to make. She had always been fascinated by the idea of immortality, but the thought of becoming a vampire was terrifying. I don't know what to do," she stammered, her eyes darting between Alexander and Lucian. "It's a big decision, Ava," Lucian said, his voice softening. "But we can show you the beauty of our world. We can teach you how to live forever and embrace your true nature." Ava felt a shiver run down her spine as she looked into Lucian's eyes. "I need time to think," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Alexander said, his expression sympathetic. "Take all the time you need. But remember, Ava, as a mortal, your time will run out." With that, he and Lucian turned and walked away, leaving Ava alone in the castle's dimly lit corridors. She knew that she was in a dangerous situation, but she couldn't deny the allure of a vampire world. The decision she had to make would change her life forever, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for it. Ava felt a pang of regret as she thought back to the events that led her to this point. And she had always been so curious, so eager to explore and discover new things about vampires. But now, her curiosity had led her down a dark path that she never could have imagined. As she wandered through the castle's halls, Ava couldn't help but think about the life that she was going to leave behind. Her family, her friends, her job. All of it seemed so far away. Yet there was something exhilarating about the prospect of immortality, of being able to explore the world for centuries to come. But at what cost? Ava knew that turning into a vampire would mean giving up her humanity, embracing a life of darkness and violence. Was she willing to make that sacrifice? As the hours ticked by, Ava found herself drawn over and over back to Lucian. Despite her misgivings, there was something about him that she couldn't resist, a magnetism that pulled her towards him like a moth to a flame. "I've made my decision," she said, her voice firm, and as she approached Alexander and Lucian. "And what is it?" Alexander asked. "I want to become a vampire," Ava said. Her heart was pounding in her chest. Lucian's eyes sparkled with delight as he stepped forward and took Ava's hand, kissing it. "Welcome to the family," he said, his voice low and seductive. Lucian wasted no time. Ava felt a rush of excitement as Lucian sank his teeth into her neck, and the sensation sending waves of pleasure through her body. As her blood flowed into his mouth, she felt her humanity slipping away, replaced by a hunger and a thirst that she had never known before. As the blood was draining from Ava's body, her mortal life came flashing before her eyes. Had she made a mistake? She had just given up everything that she had known for the sake of immortality, and she wasn't sure if it was worth it. For now, all she could do was embrace her new existence and hope she had made the right choice. Ava's transformation into a vampire was both exhilarating and terrifying, as she felt the life force drain from her body, Lucian's sharp fangs piercing her soft skin, causing her deep, intense pain that quickly gave way to a rush of pleasure and euphoria as Lucian's venom entered her bloodstream. The venom containing a powerful and transformative magic that alters Ava's body and soul, turning her into a creature of the night. As the venom courses through her body, she feels a burning sensation spreading from her womb, followed by a cold numbness that creeps over her skin. Her senses become heightened, and she's starting to feel an overwhelming thirst for blood and the hunger for flesh of the living. Ava's transformation is both mental and physical as her body becomes stronger and faster, more durable, and her mind is now sharpened and focused. The process so dark and seductive and filled with danger and temptation. As Ava opens her eyes, they are no longer the vibrant color that they once were. Instead, irises of black, and as if all the light and life have been drained from her. She blinks a few times, adjusting to her new vision, and then she feels a sharp pain in her mouth. As she touches her teeth, she realizes that they are no longer her normal human teeth. They've been replaced by a pair of sharp fangs, and like those of a predator, the fangs feel so strange in her mouth. She can't help but run her tongue over them, feeling their sharpness. Ava looks around, trying to make sense of what has happened to her. She can see everything more clearly than before, as if the darkness has become her ally instead of her enemy, and she feels powerful, almost invincible, and a sense of hunger begins to gnaw at her stomach. Slowly, Ava begins to realize the truth. She's been turned by Lucian's bite. She feels a rush of conflicting emotions, fear, excitement, and a sense of loss for the human life she has left behind. As she stands up, she realizes that her body has changed as well. She feels lighter, more agile, stronger. She can hear the beating of her nearby heart and the sound her mouth makes while it waters for her flesh. Lucian helps her to her feet and watches her closely as she undergoes her transformation. He monitors her physical and emotional reactions, providing her guidance and support as she adapts to her new life. Lucian watched Ava with a mixture of pride and responsibility. He knew now she was part of him and that he would have to help her navigate the challenges of her new existence. And he also felt a sense of attachment to Ava, as she was now connected to him in a way that only other vampires could understand. With a mixture of excitement and trepidation, Ava embraced her new life as a vampire and prepared to embark on a journey of eternal darkness with her new family.